Hello, all you Elvis fans. This is Krista Joy, founder of TCBRadioNetwork.com.
And I'm your co-host of TCB Radio Network and Elvis tribute artist, Peter Alden. Welcome to the TCB Radio Network podcast. Get ready for some Elvis content and news you can use, where it's all Elvis, all the time.
Interviews with authors, Elvis fan club presidents, artists, musicians, and of course, close personal friends of Elvis Presley, people who knew him, the man himself.
Thank you for tuning in.
Now sit back, relax, and enjoy.
It's time for the TCB Radio Network podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the TCB Radio Network podcast. It's May 15th, 2018. I'm Krista Joy.
I'm Peter Alden.
And we are so delighted this week to bring you a fantastic interview with author Zoey Goto. And also, we're going to do a little something different. We're going to add some news right at the beginning of the show and then right at the end. So stay tuned for the whole thing. Kicking it off tonight, we want to remind you about the fantastic event that's coming up where you can meet some Elvis celebrities and hang out with them. That's right, the 30th annual Marion Cock Elvis Presley Memorial Dinner is happening Monday, August 13th, 2018 at 7 p.m. in the Skyway Room at the Peabody, Memphis. Tickets are $90 or $35 for children age 12 and under. They are also non-refundable. Now, you can break up your ticket into 3 consecutive monthly payments if you would like, and each one will be $30. You can do that $30 a month up until it's time to go. And the earlier you order your tickets, the closer to the stage you will be. Please make your checks payable to EPMD, which of course stands for Elvis Presley Memorial Dinner. Enclose a self-addressed stamped envelope and mail it to Tina Griffin at 9529 11th Avenue, Orlando, Florida 32824. Or to charge your tickets by phone, you can call Lori Holland at 662-322-5956. Peter and I will be at the dinner, and we are looking forward to seeing you and meeting you in person. It's almost like an unofficial TCB Radio Network meetup. So excited.
That will turn into an official TCB
Yay!
Radio.
Yes, absolutely. It's really about Elvis's dinner, but we'll be there too, and we hope to meet you. Attire is formal or semi-formal, and there will be special guests, a high-end gift raffle, live charity auction, and candlelight memorial service. If you've lost a loved one this year and would like to carry one of the 41 candles, or if you'd just like to carry one for Elvis, let Lori or Tina know their name, and you'll be put on the list. Your candle will be given to you at 6:30 p.m. in the elevator area at the Skyway Room. And next up, we have some news about the comeback special, right, Pete?
Yeah, thanks, Krista. Believe it or not, we're coming up on the 50th anniversary of Elvis's comeback special. Originally just entitled Singer Presents Elvis, it was sponsored by the Singer Sewing Machine Company. It was shown on NBC, and they're going to be doing some special things for the upcoming celebration. And we found something here that we thought everyone would be really interested in about the show. We all know Elvis Presley as the king of rock and roll, but it was his 68 comeback special on NBC that truly secured his reign. In that one thrilling special, donning iconic black leather and performing some of his most unforgettable hits, Elvis reclaimed his glory and put himself back at the top of the charts. This season, to celebrate the 50th anniversary of that epic evening, an all-star group of music's superstars will pay tribute in Nashville, Tennessee, recreating the spectacle, even the staging of that legendary night of song. In addition to the musical performances, we'll see rare Elvis footage, outtakes, and interviews from those involved in the 68 comeback special, including director Steve Binder. Whether you're a lifelong fan or just getting to know Elvis, this is an event not to be missed. And they're going to be releasing more information as it gets closer to the event. They haven't released any times or dates yet.
All right, so now, without too much further ado, I am so excited today to bring you this interview with internationally regarded journalist and writer, Zoey Goto. Now, Zoey and I connected way back in 2016 over Twitter, and I wanted to interview her ever since. So this interview was about 2.5 years in the making, and she is just delightful, as you'll hear. And actually, Hal Lansky wrote the intro to her book. So you'll definitely want to pick it up. All you do is go to Amazon.com, type in Elvis Style, or check out her website, ZoeyGoto.com, because she's got a really interesting perspective and the pictures that she shows on there, and she updates it often. She's also working on a new project, so you'll get to see all of that if you check out her website. So without too much further ado, we want to bring you our interview, the one with Zoey Goto. Zoey Goto is an internationally regarded journalist and writer specializing in fashion, design, and lifestyle features. She writes for some of the leading publications worldwide and is also author of the book Elvis Style, From Zoot Suits to Jumpsuits, published in 2016. This amazing book celebrates the innovative style world of Elvis Presley, the man who single-handedly changed the way that America and much of the world beyond dressed. His hairstyles, clothes, cars, interiors, even food he ate are all highlighted in her book, which is full color and contains over 175 glorious pictures. Zoey Goto, welcome to TCB Radio Network.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
It's such a pleasure. We've been connecting ever since you came out with the book. I've been fascinated. And you shipped me some to America. You were so sweet. And we gave them out at the Elvis Presley Fan Club of Orlando and sold a few for you way back when it first came out. And I've loved it ever since. So thank you for writing this book.
You're welcome.
So when did you first become an Elvis fan?
Do you know what? I kind of came to Elvis quite late in life, actually. I grew up in a family where there were no Elvis fans at all. And strangely enough, despite sharing my birthday with Elvis, I was born on the 8th of January, he just completely wasn't on my radar when I was growing up. I don't think I'd ever seen an Elvis film when I was younger. We had no Elvis records in the house. So yeah, I just kind of knew nothing about him pretty much. And then when I was about 20, I was working as a waitress in a restaurant. I stood there and I was bored and flicking through a magazine, and I came across a picture of Elvis. I think it was some kind of anniversary that was happening, and there was a big feature on him. And it was kind of like being struck by lightning. It was a really memorable moment. And I just thought, wow, this guy is incredible looking. He was the most kind of visually stunning person I had ever seen. And so I thought, this is a fascinating looking person. I need to know more about him. And from that moment on, I was kind of hooked. So I came to him through the style rather than through the music. The music, of course, then I started listening to, and I loved it. And I thought, it was fantastic and really creative music. But it was actually through how he looked that kind of first drew me in. And within a couple of months, I had booked a ticket out to Memphis and flown out there from England, and went out to Graceland, and I was so impressed with Graceland. I just loved it so much, the interiors, that I came back, and I was a university student at the time, and I wrote my university dissertation on Graceland and Elvis, and luckily my tutor who was marking my dissertation was a massive Elvis fan, and he had kind of never made it to Graceland, so he was kind of living vicariously through me. It was brilliant.
Oh, wonderful. That worked out well.
It did, it really did. But it was from knowing nothing to discovering Elvis, it was kind of very sudden. And since then, I've been a huge, huge fan of him. And yes, and then I went on to work in the fashion industry, and I was looking around, and I was writing as well. I was writing predominantly about menswear for magazines like GQ and GQ Style, and I had this idea that I wanted to write a book, and I wanted to combine my two passions, so menswear and Elvis, and I thought, maybe I could do something there, maybe I could write a book on him. And I had a look around, and I did lots of research, and I went into lots of bookshops, and I'd kind of look along the bookshelf and see all of these people that had books about them, Marilyn Monroe, Audrey Hepburn. There were loads and loads of them. And I couldn't believe that every time I visited a bookshop, there was nothing on Elvis. So I started to look into it, and I saw that nobody had written a kind of a fashion book looking at Elvis in a very in-depth way. And there were lots of books that were retelling the story of Elvis kind of with a different slant. But there was nothing that focused purely on his style. So I thought, there's a gap in the market, and that's how Elvis Style was born.
Yes, and that's what drew me to it. I mean, it's just gorgeous. I love all the color photos. I mean, I'm not an avid reader, but I remember being on the plane back from California and looking at this thing cover to cover, reading every word, soaking it all in. So even if you're not a reader, get it for the pictures. It's beautiful. So we know that's how it all came about for you. It was just kind of like, nobody else has done this, so let me go ahead and do it. And I love that, but I also love how it just goes so much further than how he dressed. So can you talk about why was it important to you to cover the broader range of his style all the way out to the things that he ate when he was at Graceland?
I think because it's all such a kind of part of the Elvis package. I think if Elvis had gone on stage and wore these kind of really wild outfits and then gone home and he was living in a kind of, minimalist white cube of a house, it just wouldn't be as interesting at all. But everything about Elvis, it kind of touched all aspects of his life, and they all kind of interlink. So, you have the fantastic customized cars, and you have the hairstyles, which were really wild at the time, especially, in the 50s when he broke out. These kind of really over-the-top hairstyles, and then these great costumes that he was wearing. All of it interlinks, and all of it is very much a kind of an expression of Elvis and who he was. So I thought to really talk about Elvis and his style and the impact that he's had, because I don't think Elvis's impact is kind of just limited to the impact that he had on fashion, although that was really important. I think he's had a huge impact just on the way that men put themselves together, the way that men style their hair, the way that, people put their interiors together, the way he was using thematic rooms in Graceland, that's been massively influential. And I think, if we're looking at Elvis's style, all of these elements kind of make up the big jigsaw, really, that was Elvis's style.
Yeah, and I noticed, I know that you've said that younger fashion students should be studying Elvis's contribution to style, as well as the interior design students when you were just talking about Graceland and that kind of thing. Now, I know that in preparing Elvis Style that you interviewed a lot of the leading designers, stylists, and tailors today. Now, who were as far as that goes, who were some of your favorite people to speak with while you were putting this book together?
I think a very lovely conversation that I had was with George Barris, who was Elvis's car customizer, and it was actually sadly a few months before he passed away. He passed away in 2015, and I think he was 89 at the time. And I felt very privileged that he had taken the time to speak to me, and he had lots of lovely stories because, he spent a lot of time with Elvis and Priscilla. And so that was really lovely to have that kind of personal input from somebody who had spent many years in Elvis's company. Hal Lansky was another fantastic person to speak to. And he wrote the introduction for the book. He was very supportive of the book, and we had lots of different conversations when I was over in Memphis and kind of following up when I came back to London. So he was an important person to speak to. And then kind of outside of the Elvis world, there were people like Patricia Fields, who was the stylist on Sex and the City. And I loved that program when I was younger, So to get her to give quotes to me, it was really exciting because she's, in the styling world, she's a big deal. And then there were also other people, like we had Madonna's hairstylist, Andy Lecomte, and he was given his insights into Elvis's hair, and so there were other kind of big names that we managed to to get to talk to us and give their kind of professional insights to Elvis. But a lot of people kept saying that, Elvis has had a big, designers and stylists, Elvis had a big impact on them and the fashion world. And it was something that was really nice to hear, because it feels like, I know that he's had a huge, big impact on the fashion world, but I feel that he's really not credited, in the way that he should be, because he has been so influential. And I find myself quite often, if I'm going to a fashion show as a journalist, I'll sit there and you have these guys walking down the catwalk, and I'll be thinking to myself, that is so Elvis, 1957, but it's not credited at all. Or, flicking through a fashion magazine, you'll see a fashion shoot and you'll think, they've really taken something of Elvis's style there. But yeah, he doesn't get the credit, and he doesn't get the recognition in the fashion world, really. So that's something that I wanted to kind of put straight in my book. And it was really nice, actually, after my book came out, there were lots of reviews, in kind of Elvis publications and places that were talking to the Elvis community, but there were also reviews in fashion magazines and on fashion websites. And it was I felt it was good that Elvis was being kind of recognised for the impact that he's had, especially on menswear. So that was nice. It was a nice kind of result of the book, I felt.
Yes, you must be very proud of that. I mean, that's amazing that you brought attention to that when other people were kind of just glossing over it.
Yeah, and I love that you said you were looking at things and you were like, that looks like Elvis from this. And it's so funny, because every now and again I'll find myself doing the same kind of thing. You'll see an ad and the model's hair is styled kind of like Elvis's, or they'll have one of the throwback microphones in a picture. And you're right, it's so much of it was done by Elvis first, and he doesn't really get the credit for starting some of these trends. I love that you've pointed all that out with this book.
That's great.
Oh, good. And I also, I see it in adverts and magazines, but also just kind of in the street. In London, there's quite a big rockabilly scene. So you see these kind of young guys, in their late teens or 20s, and they are so channeling Elvis, walking along the street in London. So he's still relevant, he's still appealing to young people, but perhaps they're not always being shown kind of where it originated from. So I thought it was kind of quite interesting through my book, but also reviews and write-ups, online menswear magazines, that it's being credited, so the young guys who are doing that look could, maybe research and look into Elvis and maybe become fans of the music through the style, because there's lots of people that are imitating the style, maybe not consciously realising where it originated.
Yes.
Well, when I was over in Wales in 1985, and we got a chance to see a concert with Shakin' Stevens.
Ah, yes.
And so, and he's very much aware of where his style came from, I believe.
Yes. I can imagine. Absolutely. Yeah, he was, and Cliff Richard, that's another person that was, very, very highly influenced by Elvis. But I think there's a lot of contemporary people as well. Bruno Mars is somebody.
Absolutely.
There's lots of contemporary musicians, the way you can see he's been an influence on the music and also the style.
Yeah. Now, when you were researching for your book, what were some of your favorite things that you learned about Elvis's style?
I think one of the things that I loved was finding out how much control he had over his style, because I think there's this kind of misconception that there was a stylist who was working with him, and it was kind of, behind the scenes it was being put together for him, and he was being told what to wear, but he had complete creative control over his style, which I think is quite unusual if we think about our modern day pop stars. There's a team of people that are working on the image and everything that goes with it. But Elvis he was really in control. He was working with, throughout his lifestyle, throughout his lifetime, just a handful of designers, and he was working really hand in hand with them. So he had so much control over what he was wearing And also he was very good at styling not only himself but other people around him. And this started even when he was a teenager. Apparently he was even better than his girlfriends at putting on their mascara. And then it continued.
Wow.
So we know that Elvis had a big hand in how Priscilla presented herself, and also the Memphis Mafia. You know, he was completely styling everyone around him. And I think it just shows how much creativity and creative control he had over his images and other people around him. And another thing I really loved finding out through the book was the impact that he had on British fashion, because obviously I'm British, and it was really nice to be able to link it back to the Teds, British teddy bears in the 50s, but then also glam rock in the 70s. Mm-hmm. So I had an interview with Victoria Brokes from the Victoria and Albert Museum, and she was the person who put on the David Bowie exhibition a couple of years ago that did really well in London. And she was talking to me about what a massive impact Elvis had on David Bowie and the outfits that he was wearing on stage, and how he took Elvis's jumpsuits and he kind of tweaked them and they turned into David Bowie's famous cat suits. But it was really nice to kind of see that link, that direct link between Elvis and then, you know, the ripple effect that happened over here in British menswear.
That's great.
Now, as flashy and all of that, as he got towards the end with the jumpsuits and everything, do you still feel like there was a lot of Southern influence from his younger days all throughout his life?
Yes, I do. And I think that's something that we as fans really value in him, because he's somebody who kind of stayed very true to his roots. I think what he was doing with his early fashion was exactly what he was doing with his early music. He was mixing country style with the blues, and that's what he did in his music, and he got rockabilly. And if you look at his early stage, where I talk about it a bit in the book, about he's got this kind of early country Southern influence, but then he always mixes it in with outfits that he would have interpreted from African American musicians that he was seeing on Beale Street when he was a young man growing up in Memphis. And I think there's elements right throughout his career in his stage wear of Southern influences in his clothing. And I also talk a bit about how it links in with his jumpsuits as well. And then also in the chapter that looks at his diet, he's stayed very, very true to his Southern roots there, and Southern cooking, Southern style of cooking, which I appreciate because I also love that style of cooking. Unfortunately, in London we don't have, I mean, we've got a couple of Southern restaurants that popped up recently, but that's something that I love when I go back to Memphis, just being able to eat all of that fantastic Southern food. So I can completely appreciate why he stuck with that style of food.
Yes, down south we like to fry just about anything. So
yeah, it's good.
I love this chapter on the things that he ate. It's so fascinating to me because it really just brings it home. You know, reminds us once again that he was a real man. It's not just, you know, an image and the music and all of that, but, you know, he ate real food like the rest of us did.
Yeah, to research the book when we were in Memphis, I went and ate in quite a few of the restaurants that he ate in, and I've included the Arcade Diner in there, which is a fantastic place to visit. And there, of course, as I'm sure lots of the Elvis fans have already been and visited, but they have the Elvis booth in there where you can go and sit where Elvis sat and have your banana and peanut butter sandwich. And it's fantastic. It's a really good experience.
Let's talk about his decorating style a little bit. What were you excited to learn about on that front? The interior of Graceland and things like that.
I personally really love looking at the kind of interior magazines where you flip through and you look at celebrities' homes. I'm really nosy, so
yeah.
I find them really fascinating. But quite often, if you look at enough of these magazines, they don't really actually tell you much about the person, because it feels like an interior designer has gone in and they're normally quite neutral and there's nothing too risky there, and it's kind of a bit of a blank canvas, really. But I think that Graceland, on the other hand, is something that it's a house that reveals so much about Elvis that it's the kind of the complete opposite to what we used to see, and when celebrities decide we're allowed into their home and can decide what we're allowed to see about them. Graceland is just so Elvis everywhere, you know. And I love the way that he used thematic rooms. I think it's fantastic. So, you know, my all-time favourite room has to be the Jungle Room. It's just wild and creative and fun, and you know, who wouldn't want to have a waterfall in their front room?
Right.
It's fantastic.
Hey, why not?
I feel the same way. I love that.
It's so good. And we recently went to California, and we stayed in quite a famous motel called the Madonna Inn, and they're known for having these kind of really over-the-top thematic rooms. So every one of their motel rooms has been done in a different style, and we stayed in one called the Jungle Rocks room, and it reminded me so much of the Jungle Room. I don't think Elvis had actually ever visited it, but simultaneously these two places have managed to create these really fantastic, you know, really fun themed rooms, and I really love that about Graceland. It's playful and it doesn't take itself too seriously, but I think it's also very stylish. There's, you know, a lot of things that I think interior designers would go in and, you know, would borrow ideas, because there's just so many ideas to borrow in that place.
Yeah, I really want to encourage everybody to go to Zoey Goto. Did I say it right? Zoey Goto.
Goto, that's right.
.com. I want to encourage everybody to go to your website, because I did see the picture of your little girl on the bed in the room that you stayed in at the Madonna Inn. So everybody go look that up. It's really, really cool.
Oh, yeah, my daughter's a big Flintstones fan, so I made them both costumes, and there they are.
I loved it.
You're listening to the TCB Radio Network podcast, where we're celebrating the life and memory of Elvis Presley with a mission to share his legacy with the world.
Hi, everybody. I'm Krista Joy, founder of TCB Radio Network, and I want to let you know that tonight's show is co-hosted and sponsored by PeterAldenEntertainment.com and PeterAldenLive.com. Peter Alden is a classically trained vocalist with a voice like velvet, who performs everything from country to pop while specializing in the golden era of rock and roll. Based in Orlando, Florida, but able to travel all over the world, he can come to you. Please support TCB Radio Network by hiring Peter Alden for musical entertainment or to MC at your next event. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Peter Alden Fans.
Hi, this is Don Wilson, and if you're looking for Elvis, you're in the right place, TCB Radio Network.
Well, you have a unique perspective, too, because I know you wrote about Lauderdale Courts in your book, and then you also got to spend the night there. I don't know how it happened.
Yeah. We've stayed there 2 times now. The first time was in 2014 when I was researching the book. So those are the pictures in Elvis Style. They're the pictures that I took while I was there, and I went there with my husband. And then we went back in 2017, last year, with my eldest daughter. And it was just a fantastic experience. And we stayed there for a couple of nights on our second visit. And my daughter got the chance to sleep in Elvis's room. And I took a picture of her playing the guitar on a bed in Elvis's bedroom. And I was trying to explain to her, you know, this might not be a big deal to you now because you're 5 years old, but when you're older, you're so going to appreciate this moment. You know, you've slept in Elvis's bedroom. This is something most people can't say. And I think it's just such a fantastic place. It's been really sympathetically restored. I think it's quite beautiful the way that they've restored it inside, and it's well thought out. You know, all of the details are there, and they spent a lot of time researching, looking at old photos. They bought a lot of the stuff on eBay and at second-hand shops, trying to find original stuff that would have fitted in with the time frame, kind of late 40s. And yeah, it's just a really, really special place to stay. I think it should be on most Elvis fans' bucket list.
Yeah, I read that you were very pleased with it, and also you were kind of surprised at how affordable it is to go stay there.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly how much it is, but it it was a couple of $100s. And, you know, most of the hotels kind of in central Memphis are about that kind of price, but here you get to stay in Elvis's bedroom.
Amazing,
amazing.
It's
awesome.
I need to call them probably and have them on the show too. But can we fast forward, because you and I and Peter, we have something in common. We've all visited now the Elvis Honeymoon Hideaway, and you wrote about it in your book, but then I think you got to visit it just for your first time here recently. Is that right?
That's right, just a couple of weeks ago, actually, when we were down in Palm Springs, and it was fantastic. It was quite strange, actually, to have written and researched it quite extensively in my book, and then to be there it was kind of quite a surreal feeling, but it was fantastic. It's a very, very beautifully designed house, quite a unique house. So yes, it didn't disappoint.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you if during your visit, did it confirm a lot of what you learned about Elvis's style while you were researching the book?
Yes, yeah, it definitely did. I think it confirmed that he had really good taste. That's what I came away thinking. I thought, you know, he was a megastar at the height of his fame, and he could have stayed anywhere. He could have gone to, you know, any number of 5-star luxury hotels and gone there and been pampered and treated like a king, but instead he decided to spend a couple of days in, I think, a really, really fantastically, quite outstanding piece of architecture. It's a beautiful house. I mean, Palm Springs is kind of filled with beautiful modernist houses. If you like modernism, it's, you know, a mecca for modernism. But I think this house stands out because it's just so well designed, and I think, yeah, it just shows that Elvis had kind of impeccable taste, that he chose to spend such an important few days of his life at this beautiful house. So yeah, it's definitely worth a visit.
Yeah. Did you bring your whole family, or did you go through by yourself?
When we were in Palm Springs, it was the whole family.
Okay. Were you part of a group, or was it just you four when you went through?
When we went through, we were part of a group. So there were, I don't know, I think about 30 of us.
Wow, that's a big group, yeah.
Yeah, and I think we planned to return to Palm Springs, but I think maybe going to, the guy said there are different events there. I know that Peter has played there before.
Yes, I have.
Yes. What was that like?
It was really kind of surreal, because where I was performing was it was right on that open area where you walk through the kitchen.
I sent her a video.
Oh, you sent okay.
It's like a raised stage, isn't it?
Yeah.
Honestly, I felt like, because it was Christmas time and the big Christmas tree was there, and I felt like, you know, what Elvis might have been like, inviting some friends over and just singing for some people who were there in an intimate little gathering. It was really interesting. I had a different, I don't really know how to describe the feeling, but it was just an incredible feeling of how cool this was, because not too many guys have had a chance to do that. So
no.
Well,
that
Laura
sounds
and
like
Michael,
real privilege.
Yeah, it was. Laura and Michael were so sweet, the curators of the home, and I'll never forget Laura sitting there, just tears just streaming down her face. She's like, "It's the spirit of Elvis is back in this house. Peter's just captured the spirit of Elvis." It was amazing. It was amazing. On top of everything, I mean, because I went by myself, and the following, and I told them, I said, I have got the guy for you. I'm going to bring him back here from Orlando, and he's going to sing for you guys. And then it happened. It was all just a bunch of miracles in succession that brought us there. So it was amazing, a wonderful experience. So my next question, of course, is how can everybody follow you on social media, Zoe?
Do you know what? I'm quite old-fashioned. I'm not on Facebook or Twitter, but I've got an Instagram account.
Yes, well, if I can brag for you a little bit, Zoe's she's got an Instagram account with a mere 11,000 followers at this point.
Thank you.
So she streamlined them all into one place, and they're all. I think that's brilliant. I think that was a great idea, and your pictures are beautiful. I can't, it doesn't surprise me at all that you have so many followers.
Thank you.
Well,
I try and do a mixture of Elvis-related content, but also because I work as a journalist, I put in some of my journalism stuff, and then sometimes stuff to do with my family or just kind of day-to-day stuff that's happening. But yeah, if anyone wants to check it out, it's Elvis Style book. That's it.
Yes. And before we move on to the next book, because I want to ask you about that too, the best way to order this gorgeous book is at elvisstylebook.com or on Amazon. Is that correct?
I don't actually sell it through my website. It's probably the best place to find it is Amazon. And then also, if you are in Memphis, then it's also being sold at the Lansky Brothers store. And I would recommend, if the lovely Hal Lansky is around, maybe asking him to sign the front of the book, because he wrote the introduction for it. And I'm sure he'd be happy to.
Okay, so your next book, you kind of told me a little bit about what you're coming up with next. Will you share with everybody what you're working on?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a bit of a work in progress at the moment, but it is a book that looks at vintage style. So it looks at people who are completely immersed in the vintage scene. So I've done a couple of, and I'm doing the photos and also interviewing the people. I've done a couple so far. One of them was a really lovely teenage guy who lives in the north of England, and he is a greaser. And he's also really influenced by Elvis. But it was really interesting to meet him because he's not part of a scene or a community. He's just kind of there on his own, dressed head to toe in this kind of really cool greaser style. And all the books and the music that he listens to are all very much part of that era. But I thought it was really lovely to meet him because he's just kind of, you know, doing his style, doing his own thing. On his own. He said all of his friends are into like a completely different style, and yeah, he's, you know, sticking true to it. So it's lovely to meet him, and I got some really nice images. And when we were in LA recently, I also photographed a couple, and she is really into the golden era of Hollywood. And so I turn up in a cab round at their house, and she opens the door, and she kind of looks like, I don't know, some, you know, amazing Hollywood icon. She's got this fantastic look. It must have taken her so long to get ready. I was so impressed by how amazing she looked. And then I walked into the flat, and it was like literally stepping back into the 1940s, apart from the fact that they had a TV. That was the only modern thing that I saw in the whole flat. The rest of it was just this kind of beautifully put together collection of 1940s furniture and memorabilia. And I thought it was really interesting that they are just so into the 40s and this lifestyle, and it's had such a massive impact on their lives. And yeah, I also managed to get some great photos of them. She was so beautiful, it was hard not to get good photos of her.
So it was like going to see Audrey Hepburn.
yeah, it completely was. But stepping back in time to see her, it was, it was quite amazing. So yes, I'm on the lookout. This is maybe a shout out for any of your listeners. Unfortunately, I'm kind of limited to where I can travel to at the moment, but particularly if there's anyone in the UK that knows of people who are very into the vintage scene. And it doesn't particularly have to just be mid-century. It could be, you know, Victoriana, or it could be something like the Mods and the Rockers. But anyone who's doing some kind of style revival and might want to be featured in the book, please get in touch with me through my website, zoeygoto.com, because I would love to hear from anyone who has any kind of recommendations of people.
I love that. And I read something so cute about you, that you tend to dress like the next subject that you're writing about. Is that right?
Yeah, it's really embarrassing.
It's so cute.
I do. When I was doing the chapters on Elvis's fashion, I was doing them chronologically. So I'd start off, I've always kind of quite liked the 50s, but I really, really got into the 50s style, you know, was kind of head to toe wearing it every single day. And then slowly as we morphed through the 60s and then onto the 70s, I could see myself, my own style changing with what I was writing about with Elvis. So yeah, I'm sure with this next book, I'm sure there's going to be a lot more of that.
You're writing about all sorts of styles, so you'll be able to get all kinds of new clothes.
I could end up like a punk rocker.
You see Zoey in her Victorian style gown conducting interviews.
It's going to happen.
Well, I love it. Just be sure to get some video. We'll share it.
I will.
Well, Zoey, I want to thank you again so much. Your fantastic book, Elvis Style, which everybody can get on Amazon. Just check it out. You won't be sorry. Get like 10 copies. They make fantastic gifts, especially for your Elvis friends, fans, people that don't know anything about Elvis. They're going to love this book, so don't miss it. And thank you for spending time to talk with us today, Zoey.
Yeah,
I've really enjoyed it. It's been lovely. Thank you.
Well, we're going to ask you one last question because it's a question we've been asking everybody who's been on as a guest.
Okay.
And because you've done a lot of different interviews and a lot of different things, is there a question or something that you wish someone would ask you that no one's ever asked you because, I want to talk about this, but no one asks me about it, so I can't talk about it. So we're asking you now if there's something that you wish that somebody had asked you, or if there's a particular subject on that you've written that you'd like to talk about. If you'd like to do that here, we welcome it.
Oh, that is really tricky. I'm trying to think if there's anything I haven't been asked
You've been
about
interviewed by
Elvis.
so
You've
many
been
top
interviewed by so
magazines.
many people, I figured there probably isn't anything.
Different things, but just, anything you want to share with everybody, maybe that you learned about Elvis that you were surprised to learn.
I think really the main thing that surprised me from the book was the influence that he had had over so many people. And I think that was something that kind of kept cropping up again and again.
His legacy endures, right? We're still talking about him over 40 years after he's been gone, and it just goes on and on. But he was such a trailblazer in so many ways, right? I mean, I think your book really confirms that, not just in his style, but the way that he decorated his home, the way that, he lived his life. He stood out in a lot of ways.
Absolutely, and there's one quote that I got from the costume designer, Deborah Landis. She was the person who did the Michael Jackson Thriller video. She put him in, Michael Jackson, in that leather outfit, famous leather outfit. And so I was asking her about, Elvis and his influence on her and her work, and she said that there isn't a costume designer alive that hasn't been inspired by Elvis. And I thought that was a really nice quote, especially coming from her, because she's been so influential herself, that there literally isn't a designer alive who hasn't been inspired. And I think that kind of summed up how influential he's been.
Thanks for your time, and we'll let you get back. I know it's evening there, probably getting close to dinner time where you are. So.
Got to get the kids to bed, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Not very glamorous.
I remember those days. Enjoy it. And if you're ever in Orlando and you want a tour of Disney World, I'll be happy to take you around.
Thank you.
I go all the time, so I.
You're lucky.
Yeah. Well, thanks
cool.
again.
Oh, well, lovely to speak to you both.
It was lovely to speak to you too.
Thank you so much, Zoey.
Great. You're welcome. Speak soon. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
All right, that was Zoey Goto. She was pleasant to talk to.
She was awesome. I love her.
Yeah, she was a lot of fun. Very nice lady. All right, got a couple of things left here before we finish up this week on TCB Radio. I know a lot of people were looking forward to Elvis Week this year in August, and we do know that Lisa Marie Presley will be there this year. However, due to a schedule change, her appearance at Elvis Week 2018 has been moved from August 15th to a special appearance and interview for the launch of a new project to be announced soon. This event will be held on Saturday, August 11th at 1 p.m. at the Graceland Soundstage. More details on this project will be released in the upcoming weeks, and we'll keep you updated here on TCB Radio and also on TCB Radio Facebook Live as soon as we get all that information. Tickets for the Lisa Marie special appearance and interview event are $30 and are on sale now. So once again, Lisa Marie will be at Elvis Week 2018, but instead of August 15th, you can see her on August 11th at 1 p.m. at the Graceland Soundstage. Now, I think, Krista, you've got some exciting news as well, don't you?
So just today, the official Graceland site came out with some great pictures. If you get time, you need to go to Graceland.com and check these out. But I just got excited about the new little charm bracelet that they just debuted today. The original so of course it's, just like the old days when you were a kid, when I was a kid, you'd buy a bracelet, and the bracelet actually comes with a Jailhouse Rock charm charm attached to it. So here's the deal. It's $19.99 for the bracelet. It's a sterling silver plated jailhouse rock charm bracelet. And of course, they've got the Elvis dangling from there. He's jailhouse rock Elvis dangling from the bracelet, which is a lot of fun. And then from after that, you can buy their little charms to go on the bracelet. So there's different ones. They're really cute. We talked about it on Facebook Live. So if you get a chance, go back to tcbradionetwork.com and check out our Facebook Live, and you'll see pictures because we posted all those on Facebook Live of the different charms and things. I just thought it was kind of a cool little collectible that they're starting brand new as of today. So you'll definitely want to check out those pictures. Thank you so much for being with us this week and checking out our interview with Zoey Goto. She was tons of fun. Don't forget to pick up her book, Elvis Style. Thank you so much for listening to us this week and joining us on the TCB Radio Network podcast.
Absolutely. And once again, we'll be back here in a couple of weeks with another interview. Now, Krista, do you have someone lined up for that? Or
Keelan Parham. He'll be next.
And what is he? People don't know who he is.
Everybody knows Keelan, don't they? Keelan, of course, is a former tribute artist, still, he's a great friend of yours for years and years. Yes. He also happened to be the illustrator for a wonderful book that came out, about a year and a half ago. It's called Come On In, Young Man. It's the story of Elvis and Bernard Lansky and how they met. It's a little bit about the story. It's so cute, great for kids and adults alike. And Keelan is the illustrator for the book. So we're just excited to hear about his past experience as an Elvis tribute artist and also a current illustrator for this fantastic book. So we're excited to talk to him.
Yeah, and so we'll be back here most probably in a couple of weeks, and we will see you then. But always every Tuesday night on Facebook Live.
Yep, catch us on Facebook Live, 7:30 p.m. Eastern every Tuesday. We'll see you there.
We'd also like to thank Lee Douglas of Old Time Rock and Roll, always found at www.oldtimernr.com, for converting our show to iTunes. We appreciate you, Lee. Be sure to check out Lee's fantastic site and listen to his weekly shows, all oldies music with no commercials. TCB Radio Network is strictly a fan publication, not affiliated in any way with Elvis Presley Enterprises or any of its affiliates or subsidiaries. Please visit us online at tcbradionetwork.com. All trademarks, product names, company names, and logos mentioned are the properties of their respective owners. All opinions stated within do not necessarily reflect the opinions of anyone else, and certainly not Elvis Presley Enterprises.
Still the King, our theme song for TCB Radio Network podcast, was written by Shane Douglas, produced by Terry Fullwider at Blue Spot Studios, and performed by Peter Alden and his band Crown Electric Company, featuring David Fontana, son of Elvis Presley's original drummer DJ Fontana, on drums.
And Elvis Presley is still the king. Well, he's still the king. That's all. Man, he sure could sing.